they had a big call where all these people came together and said like, hey, we need, like, it's wartime mode. Like, we're all getting fucked, frankly. Like, we're getting fucked. We can't keep up. Like, L1 needs to scale if we're going to keep up. You know, you've seen Base and Jesse talking like, hey, we need to scale blobs. For people who don't know, blobs is like the restricting force right now of Base. Base is trying to scale further so that it can handle more transactions without increasing fees, trying to do all this shit, right? So they had a big wartime call. Everyone did a big rah-rah speech of like why they need to like cooperate and accelerate and come to an agreed upon standard, namely around being based and native. And for people who aren't familiar with what that means, it means like basically getting rid of the sequencer so that Ethereum becomes a sequencer. But yeah, so like Ethereum would potentially accrue some fees. You'd be able to interoperate with some of the assets on L1. It's a little harder. You lose some, like Base would lose the money that it's making on priority fees and shit, right? It would be giving that up potentially to Ethereum. So, but it's like a roadmap thing. It takes a while, whatever. So like Lubin talking about that is kind of in line with that, where he's just saying like, hey, Ethereum L1 needs to scale, because if Ethereum L1 scales, then it allows us to interoperate better. It allows us to, you know, to play nicer with other L2s. It allows us to settle faster. It allows users to withdraw funds faster, all this shit. I'm happy to report that we don't give a shit about Ethereum L1 scaling. We can go as high as we want.
Love it. Fascinating stuff. I missed most of that meeting stuff. I didn't know that had happened, but it's very interesting. The interesting conversation I'd seen the L2 landscape go in just earlier today, I think, was people talking about like acquisitions and mergers of L2s at some point, right?
Yeah, because, I made a post last night about before I went to sleep, and just like, hey, when these L2s die, what happens, right?
Yeah.
Eventually one of these teams is going to go under. They're not going to be able to support themselves, right? Because they have to generate fees. And I made a post yesterday at the top, but there's like a cluster of 8 L2s that over the last, I think it was 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, lost 40 grand, right? That they did not make money. So like it cost money to run the sequencer, like a couple thousand, maybe a week. So that's like 300 grand. Then you have, you know, a team of DevOps engineers, you have your marketing budget, you have all this shit, right? That's probably approaching 6-7 figures, like high 6, definitely 7+ figures pretty easily on a run rate every year. Eventually these teams are they're gonna die. Some are gonna die because they're not based. There's a power law effect going on amongst L2s. Base, I made again another post, Base eats up or creates like 60% of the transactions. If you knock out the top 6 L2s transactions, it goes down to under 1 TPS per L2 for the next like 40, right? Like that's crazy. 1 transaction per sec, under 1 transaction per second for 40 across 40 rollups, right? And yeah, so like they're gonna die. So what happens then? Like does Ethereum CTO it, where you have to like just turn it based and you just like offload the sequencer? Does the actual community step in and like do a RAS, like a roll up as a service spin up, try to like spin up their own sequencer and shit, like kind of like Degen did, and like try to take over the chain? Does another L2 acquire it as like a acqui-hire, right? Do they buy the team? Do they buy the community, like a customer thing? It's going to happen within the next year, probably.
I had a discussion with BCG, Boston Consulting Group, on exactly that in December 2023. They said they are expecting this mass consolidation, as you perfectly described it, to happen. And they said there might be actually a niche in this market for someone to step in who's really good at integrating those not dead L2s, but too dead to stand on their own feet, and just doing that in a very effective, cost-efficient way. And by doing that, actually becoming relevant, because 100 half-dead L2s together still do create significant volume. So that's going to be interesting if someone's going to like specialize in exactly that. And also real quick, going back to the question that you had before, Brett, the comparison on NFT volume versus total volume for ETH mainnet versus Solana. So quickly, for Solana, we said that's 0.02%, 1.6 mil NFT volume versus 8 bill total volume. For ETH mainnet, total volume is at 2.3 bill, NFT volume is at 13 mil. So that's 0.5%, which is not a lot in like absolute numbers, but relatively speaking, that ratio is still 25 times higher than on Solana.